Despite being announced all the way back in 2010, for years, nobody really knew how the Qatar World Cup was going to work, with most people, Football Manager included, assuming that it'd be moved to a location more suitable for playing football in the height of the summer. It wasn't until Football Manager 2019 that the Winter World Cup was implemented within FM, with the game releasing a few months after Russia 2018 and the Winter 2022 tournament hard-coded into the game. Which got me thinking, if FM19 is this accurate when it comes to all things Qatar World Cup, what better medium would there be to predict England's squad for the 2022 World Cup? Something that seems to be having a little bit of discussion on Twitter over the last week or so, thanks to some questionable Nations League results. And let's face it, surely a game released less than 4 years ago has still got to be pretty accurate, right? Oh, folks, hello and welcome to a very different kind of Football Manager video here on the channel. If you like this kind of thing, make sure you give me a thumbs up. I'm getting that out of the way right at the start because I don't usually do this kind of stuff. If you want to see more of it, leave a thumbs up on the video. Let me know down in the comments section what other stuff along these lines you'd like to see me make. And if you are new, because I've tried to clickbait the face off of this video, if you are new, subscribe, turn your notifications on. I make daily Football Manager content. Come along, join in the fun. It's lovely here. I also stream every afternoon over on Twitch, so you should probably follow me over there too. All the links are down in the description below. So, the video, simple enough. FM19 was released just after the last World Cup. It was the first Football Manager that accurately had the winter version of the Qatar World Cup rather than picking the whole thing up and moving it to Australia the way it always used to do in previous versions of the game. So I figured that this should be pretty good at predicting what the squad is going to be for the upcoming World Cup. It feels like Gareth Southgate probably needs a little bit of help at the moment. So to start things off, I just wanted to give you all a reminder what England's squad actually was for the last World Cup, because although it was only 4 years ago, it does seem like it was a little bit longer with some of the names that we've got here on this list. Danny Rose picking up a number 3 shirt, for example. I suspect he's not going to be in the upcoming squad for the World Cup. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a career resurgence on there. But other names that you're probably less likely to see, Jamie Vardy, of course, is now retired from international football. I don't expect to be seeing Jack Butland, Danny Welbeck, Gary Cahill, Phil Jones was in the World Cup squad for the last World Cup. Fabian Delph, Ashley Young, Dele Alli, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I mean, there's plenty of names here that we're probably not going to be seeing this time round. You've perhaps got a core of maybe half of the squad that will probably be going to Qatar. Will the game accurately predict that half a squad? And who on earth is it going to use to fill in the rest of the gaps? Now, I can be fairly confident about some of the names it's probably not going to be picking. Looking at the England squad for the Nations League that we've just presumably done really well in. We're good at football. We must have done really well. But I suspect there's plenty of names from this squad who won't be recognised by Football Manager as being in the squad for the upcoming World Cup. One in particular, Jude Bellingham, actually can't be in it because he wasn't in FM19. He was still under 16 at the time. Under 16-year-olds don't appear in Football Manager for child protection reasons, as far as I'm aware. So Jude Bellingham, definitely not going to be in this squad. But looking through some of the other names we've got here, the likes of Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, Phil Foden, These players were still youth players. They hadn't made their professional debuts. Ben White had just started a season-long loan at my club, Peterborough United. He's probably not going to be in. Declan Rice was still Irish at the last World Cup. So I think there's probably going to be not so many of these names in the squad as you would imagine. It'd be interesting to see which ones they got right, though. For example, the likes of Foden, Saka, Mount, Tomori. How many of these are going to make their way in? Because, I mean, Fikayo Tomori's, 24, 25 years old now, I think? I haven't looked it up. Maybe I could have looked it up. He must have already been showing potential to be an England star 4 years ago, right? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. We'll jump into FM19. And goodness me, this is giving me some nostalgia. I actually went on Steam and had a look. I haven't opened Football Manager 2019 since October of 2019, when the FM20 released. It's one of those games I've just never felt the need to go back to. So before we get too into it, let's have a look to see what's been going on in the Premier League. See if we can. It'll be Premier Division, won't it, in Football Manager? I've not. Oh no, yeah, it is Premier Division. So Arsenal are top of the Premier League at the mid-season break for the World Cup, with Callum Wilson and Mitrovic of Burnley as joint top scorers. I suspect some of that won't be accurate. Won't be real. Huddersfield in the Premier League in this version of the future as well, and it's probably not going to work out exactly like this. So your top goal scorers in the Premier League. We're looking for English players. Marcus Rashford is right up there. I mean, Callum Wilson presumably is going to be in. He's the top scorer in the Premier League at the moment. Harry Kane is there or thereabouts, down in 12th place. Dominic Solanke. That'll be an interesting one. He's scored as many goals as Harry Kane. I wonder if we look at average ratings to see who the top players are. Performance-wise, you've got Kane right up there. Your next English player is Rashford. John Stones, you would expect to be in. There's not many English players in that top 20. Shall we have a look at the Media Dream 11? Media Dream 11. Manchester United's David De Gea and Liverpool's Jose Dyer. We've got Christensen of Chelsea, Marquinhos, who is at Manchester City, along with Ricardo Pereira, also at Manchester City. Are there any Englishmen in this squad? Leon Bailey of Manchester United. Dele Alli, elite attacking midfielder at Tottenham. He's surely a certainty for the 2022 World Cup. And then you've got Manchester City's Paulo Dybala and Kylian Mbappe with Harry Kane and Mo Salah up front. Let's have a look at the England squad. Let's see who's actually going. We are on the 20th of November 2022. So the World Cup starts tomorrow. And these are the boys who've made it. Should we sort them by position? I tell you what, we will sort them by starting 11. This is England's starting 11 for the final friendly, at least. Jordan Pickford in goal. That seems fair enough. He was England's goalkeeper at the time, so would have been pretty hard to get that one wrong. As backups for goalkeeper, we've got Joe Lumley and Freddie Woodman. Who on earth is Joe Lumley? Joe Lumley is QPR's goalkeeper, or at least he was back then. I don't know if he still is now. I don't think he'll be going to the World Cup. Freddie Woodman off of Newcastle, isn't it? Yeah, Newcastle. Is he still there in real life? He's at Sporting Kansas City. That's how desperate the England goalkeeping situation is. They're taking a guy who's been playing in the MLS for the last 4 years. Where is Aaron Ramsdale? Why is he not in the squad? Aaron Ramsdale is still a Bournemouth under 23 and has never played a game for Bournemouth. His career's not quite gone the same way it has done in real life. If we look at the rest of this starting 11, Trent Alexander-Arnold makes perfect sense. Of course, he's England's nailed on starting right back. He was in the squad for the last World Cup as a teenager. Why? There's no question that he's the best right back, is there? Who else? What other options have we got in the squad? We've got Trent. Presumably, we've got Rhys James. No. Kyle Walker. No. Trippier. I mean, our squad's usually full of right backs. This is unrealistic. There's one right back in the squad, and it's Trent Alexander-Arnold. We'll go and check where everyone else is in a minute. Going back to this starting 11, Joe Gomez of Liverpool still, starting alongside Dale Fry, who I remember when Dale Fry was a great signing in Football Manager. Presumably, it was this year because he's gone on to play for Chelsea and be an England international at the World Cup. In real life, I think this guy is still playing for Middlesbrough in the Championship. And, I mean, there's a chance he'll get his big move to Chelsea and end up at the World Cup. Who am I to say that's not possible? And then left back, we've got Luke Shaw, which, if we actually use a left back, which seems unlikely at the moment, but if we actually use a left back, I guess he'd be on the short list, presumably with someone like Ben Chilwell, who is not in the squad. He's not in the squad. The other left back we've got is Josh Tymon, who is at Aston Villa in game, was at Stoke in real life, presumably is still at Stoke. Got to admit, not familiar with Josh Tymon. We've then got Eric Dyer at the base of the midfield, which, I mean, he's a centre-back these days, isn't he? He can play centre-back. I think he's still at Tottenham, wanted by Manchester City. Your other option at the base of the midfield, we have got Jordan Henderson in the squad, who's now played 92 times for England. Declan Rice did become English, so that's an interesting one. So he has got his 3 caps for Ireland and then his 14 caps for England. He is still at West Ham. He's not quite the Declan Rice that we all know and love. Clearly not a nailed-on starter. Not quite the player he turns into in FM21, FM22. But he is in the squad, so he did make the switch. I wonder, I'd have to check the dates, had that switch actually been confirmed by the time FM19 came out. It might be the case that one of the later patches of FM19, he'd already made the decision to switch over. So it might be that isn't quite as remarkable a prediction as it looks on first glance, because he was definitely still Irish when that World Cup happened in 2018, I think. Dele Alli in midfield. I mean, 4 years ago, everyone would have been absolutely convinced, of course, Dele Alli is going to be part of the England squad for a million years. Of course, he's going to have 80 caps by the time he's 26 years old. I mean, he was coming off the back of his previous couple of real-life seasons, 18 goals for Tottenham that year, 9 that year, and why wouldn't he just carry on being this kind of player that he'd been in his first 3 years at Tottenham? And, of course, the game accurately simulates that, and that's how things turned out for Dele Alli in real life. Partnering James Ward-Prowse in midfield, who in this version of the world is at Chelsea. Goes to Chelsea this summer, interestingly, a £41 million move. Stayed at Southampton right until the end of the 21-22 season, and then makes the jump over to Chelsea. So who knows? I don't think he's on Chelsea's shopping list, but I guess if he were to go to Chelsea this summer, he might have a chance of going to the World Cup. Although, to be fair, if he goes there and only has 3 substitute appearances, I'd argue that probably makes it less likely that he's going to go. And then up front, I think even going back a couple of years, a lot of us would have assumed this would have been England's front 3 for a little while. Sancho, Rashford and Kane. I mean, who knows? Ten Hag at Manchester United might sort Sancho and Rashford out, and maybe they'll turn into the kind of players that we'd have been expecting to see. It is interesting to see Sancho in the squad because, of course, 4 years previously, he would have been just making the breakthrough at Borussia Dortmund. This game came out, remember, at the end or at the start of the 2018-2019 season. So I guess he probably got a boost in the patch midway through that game, because that was the year where he did actually get into the team and start playing regularly. The previous year, he'd only actually played 12 games for them. So it would have not been as straightforward to predict that he'd be an England regular by the time the next World Cup rolled round. In this world, didn't go to Manchester United, went to Paris Saint-Germain, and it seems to have suited him much better. £350,000 a week he's earning, and he's already played 21 times for England, scoring 9 goals. He is, you could argue, England's best player, looking at those statistics. Marcus Rashford on the left, 80 caps for England. I'm pretty sure he's not got 80 England caps in real life. If he has, let me know down in the comments section. He certainly, I'll tell you what he hasn't got, 4 seasons like that for Manchester United under his belt. If he had have done, he would have definitely got those 80 caps, that's for sure. But Marcus Rashford in the squad. He may well be in the squad. Who knows? And then Harry Kane up front, still at Tottenham. The game got that right. Also, midfielder. Well, there you go. He can play at midfield. 29 years old. Is now that would make him England's all-time record goal scorer, wouldn't it? Which I guess he could be in real life by the time the World Cup rolls around. There's presumably a couple more friendlies still to go. But yeah, he is in the squad as well. Then the rest of the squad, we've got Axel Tuanzebe, who probably won't be at the World Cup. Raheem Sterling, who probably will. Callum Wilson, I would say probably won't. Henderson, Timon, we've already looked at. Rob Holding has only played 3 times for England. Contracted to Roma, so it didn't work out for him at Arsenal, but he did go to Roma and has played pretty regularly for Roma. It looks like this season, actually, in Serie A is his breakthrough season. So maybe he is destined for a move to Roma this year and ends up in the England squad by virtue of being a regular starter in Serie A and looking really good. Morgan Gibbs-White, the last time I saw him, he was tearing Posh apart for Sheffield United in the Championship last season. So I suspect he's probably not going to get the Benfica move or the World Cup under his belt. Declan Rice, we already know about. Joe Lumley, we already looked at as well. Then Lewis Cook, at 25 years old, now at Chelsea, isn't in the England. Harry Maguire's there. Harry Maguire, still at Leicester, only 29 caps though. It's almost as if He was only ever a mid-table Premier League player. That can't be right. So we need to go and find the missing players from England's most recent squad. So Nick Pope. We've not looked for Nick Pope yet. Where is Nick Pope? Nick Pope is at Lyon in this world. You would think if in real life Nick Pope went to Lyon, he would get into the England team. Although, to be fair, he's at Lyon as a reserve. So he's only played 3 games for them in 4 years. So I guess that's why he's not in the England squad. Who else have we got? Connor Cody. What's Connor Cody up to? He is not at Wolves. So he went to Watford. They loaned him to Fulham. They've now loaned him to Angers in France. And yeah, he's never played for England, probably never going to in this universe. This is where we start getting into some of the youngsters. We've got Marc Guehi, whose name I can't say his name properly. He's at Aston Villa. He is Ivorian. He is, so it looks like he's given up hope of playing for England. Hasn't actually played for the Ivory Coast yet. So I guess if he suddenly has a breakout time at Aston Villa, maybe he'll get the call up for Ivory Coast or England. But he's only played 12 games of professional football. They've all been for Aston Villa, spread over 3 years after being released by Chelsea. He's probably not worked out for him the way it has in real life. Next up, Rhys James, who is at Chelsea, but showing us being part of the Chelsea under-23s. He has played one game for Chelsea. And it was this season after loan spells at Wigan, Wolves, Forest and Burnley. Probably, I feel like that's not the same guy who is likely to be going to the World Cup with England in real life. James Justin will be an interesting one because he would have been at Luton when FM19 came out. He is still at Luton. He has been at Luton forever. Luton, who finally got to the Championship in the 22-23 season, and as part of the promotion season last year, it looks like he's actually been dropped. So he did have a couple of years being a regular starter for Luton, has lost his place as they moved towards the top of League One, and is now a Luton reserve in the Championship. So yeah, it's no surprise he's not going to be coming along. You know who is missing from this squad? John Stones. I can only assume he's injured. He must be injured. John, what have I clicked on there? John Stones is, okay, yeah, he's injured in game. He would have been there. 86 England caps. We saw on one of the previous screens, he is one of England's top players. So he's missing out because of injury. So that's a little bit more acceptable. And we've got Fikayo Tomori, who is at FC Dallas. So just like in real life, didn't really make the breakthrough at Chelsea, but rather than a big money move to AC Milan, he got loaned out to Derby, Burton, then Southend before being released, signing for FC Dallas in the MLS, and now has 8 caps for Canada. So I think his chance of playing for England, that ship has probably sailed. Canadian born, now back in North America, and probably staying there because he's a Canadian international playing in the MLS. Don't think we're going to see him in an England squad anytime soon. Right, all the right backs. So Kieran Trippier, right back number 1. Right, in fact, this is the second one. We already looked for Rhys James. Kieran Trippier, only 13 caps in this world. Didn't go to Atletico. Ended up falling out of favour at Tottenham, signing for Brighton, and he is done. Kyle Walker is the other one missing from this squad that I'm a little bit surprised about. At 32, it looks like he's just about finished at Manchester City. Was a regular there for a couple of years, but then a couple of years ago, once he turned 30, started to become more of a bit part player at City, and this year hasn't played at all, and he's shown as under 23, so presumably not in their Premier League squad. Kyle Walker is too old. He can't do it anymore. And then the one I was most looking forward to, Ben White, because he was on loan at Posh. He's now at Bristol Rovers. He never made the £50 million move to Arsenal. So there was his real life moves to Newport and Peterborough. And then he went to Walsall. That was the season he went to Leeds in real life, I think. But instead, in game goes to Walsall in League One. The following year drops down to League Two with Plymouth before being released by Brighton, signed for Bristol Rovers in League One. Was only a bit part player, only played 17 times as they got relegated, and has now finally found his level. He's found his calling as a regular starter for Bristol Rovers in League Two. Oh, Ben White. Jude Bellingham, we already know won't be in the database, but Conor Gallagher, is it Gallagher or Gallagher? Gallagher, there we go. Conor Gallagher is at Blackpool at 22 years old. So released by Chelsea at the end of the 2021 season, having never played a game, went and signed for Blackpool in League One. And very similar to the Ben White story, didn't play very much as they got relegated, and he's now a regular starter for Blackpool in League Two. Mason Mount is 23. He's on loan at Newcastle from Chelsea. So Chelsea haven't actually released him yet. To balance that, he's never played a game for Chelsea. So there was his real life Derby loan. He went on loan to Newcastle the season after and did play 22 Premier League games, but went back to Chelsea the following year, didn't play, loaned out to Watford in the Premier League for the second half of the season, then spent a year in Serie A for Cagliari, and has now gone back on loan to Newcastle. No England caps, but plenty of into under 21s. You never know. Mason Mount might get there, just not for this World Cup. Calvin Phillips. Of course, he's still at Leeds. And of course, Leeds are still in the Championship. That was easy enough. Tammy Abraham, I think, is probably going to be following a similar path to all of these Chelsea youngsters. Not really breaking through at Chelsea. Yeah, so we've had the loan at Aston Villa is the one that happened, isn't it? But then he was loaned to Huddersfield the year after in the Premier League. And then had a loan at Borussia Mönchengladbach. Did play a little bit for Chelsea last season, and they've now released him on a free transfer. He's gone to Werder Bremen rather than Roma. Has got... Oh, in fact, no, that's Calvin Phillips. Where did Tammy go? He has got 2 England caps. I don't know when they were. Let me have a look at his biography. When did he make his England debut? So, yeah, those England caps were actually before the game came out. They were before the 2018 World Cup. So that would have been while he was on loan at Swansea, I guess. He got his England caps, presumably. And he's not been anywhere near the squad since. Jared Bowen is still at Hull, and he's now Welsh. So one cap, 1 goal for Wales. That was pretty recent. So it looks like he held out for a while and then made his international debut against Estonia, November 2021, scored, and hasn't been in the squad since. Bless his cotton socks. Last couple from this most recent squad. Phil Foden is at Manchester City and has 15 England caps. Why is he not? Was he in the squad? Why wouldn't he be in the squad? It feels like Phil Foden should be in the squad. Phil Foden, not in the squad. So he's played 15 times for England, but I guess just fallen out of favour. In fact, it looks like he's fallen out of favour at Manchester City. He had a full season on loan at Aston Villa where he played a lot of games, but since then he's never really been a regular starter for City. 5 starts that year, 5 starts that year, just the 2 starts so far this season. I think I'm probably more surprised that he's got 15 England caps than I am surprised that he's not in the squad with that kind of career so far. He needs to leave. He needs a loan or something. Jack Grealish, Mr. Aston Villa. Of course he'd never leave. Look how young he looks. He's not got his floppy hair yet. 27 years old now, 12 England caps, been playing regularly for Villa in the Premier League, but I guess there's better options. And then Bukayo Saka at Arsenal is an Arsenal under 23, still only 21. There's time for him. He hasn't actually made his Arsenal debut yet, though. Just a loan at Coventry in League 2, a loan at Rotherham in League 1, and he's now just sat in the under 23s. Wondering what might have been. Wondering if there'll ever be a World Cup in him. And I don't think Raheem Sterling was in the squad either, which is a little bit of a surprise. I wonder if he's injured. He's not injured. He's got 94. Oh, no, he is in the squad. I just didn't notice him. Oh, no, there he is. He's on the bench. So Sterling is in the squad. So it is a very different England squad. This is what the England team looks like. Gareth Southgate is still the manager. The front three, although it's probably not the front three we'll use, is the most believable part of it. You look back through the rest of it, I don't think we're going to see a Joe Gomez, Dale Fry centre-back partnership. You could conceivably have Shaw, Pickford, Trent, Dyer. They could all be involved, but you're probably not going to have a midfield of Ward-Prowse and Dele Alli. I think all we need to do now is have a look to see how this England side gets on at the World Cup, and then we can challenge real-life Gareth Southgate to do even better. Well, I just holidayed forward to the end of the World Cup, and I suggest this might mean it didn't go very well. Although, to be fair, he's resigned on the day of the final. So does that mean he's won it and then resigned? Shall we have a look? How did England get on at the World Cup, everybody? Let's go into the schedule. Wow. Australia nil, England. England nil, Australia 1. England nil, Italy 4. England 1, Nigeria 0. We didn't even make it out of the group. How on earth has he survived until the day of the final, having not even made it out of the group? There we are. Finished third. I mean, he's survived 19 days after this. That was your England team that lost 1-0 to Australia. I mean, it is pretty much that team we just looked at. You've got your back four of Trent, Gomez, Fry and Shaw. Now we know that doesn't work. Write that down, real life, Gareth. That doesn't work. It is the exact team. Dyer, Ali, Ward-Prowse, Sancho, Rashford. Who'd have thought that wasn't a good side? Well, who lost 4-0 to Italy then? For this one, Joe Gomez has gone out to right back. Oh, Harry Maguire's in. Then we're fine. Tymon coming in at left back as well. Weirdly only posting a 5.6 from Josh Tymon. Who'd have thought the weak links in that defence would be Dale Fry and Josh Tymon? Baffling. Lewis Cook partnering Eric Dyer. I mean, people moan about England's midfield sometimes. Jordan Henderson, Lewis Cook, Eric Dyer. You leave real life Gareth alone. Goodness me. And then the victorious, he ended on a high. Won his last game as England manager. Went to Trent, Gomez, Fry and Shaw for this game. Man of the match, Dale Fry. I knew he was good. Henderson, Ali and Dyer in midfield. Raheem Sterling comes in for this one. And Harry Kane did a football goal. Well, let's hope he doesn't pick this squad, eh? Goodness me. Like I said at the start, if you enjoyed this type of video, let me know down in the comments section below. Let me know what other kind of stuff like this you'd like to see me do. I am a newbie at this kind of thing, but I've had a lot of fun putting this video together. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as well. Make sure you leave a big thumbs up if you have. Subscribe for all the daily content you've got around the channel as well. And thank you very much for watching. Please don't pick this squad.